Today I'm going to be talking about the HBO miniseries From the Earth to the Moon and why it needs to be redistributed in HD or 4K, and also on digital streaming services like HBO Go. So, the 1998 HBO miniseries From the Earth to the Moon, produced by Tom Hanks, Brian Grazer, and Ron Howard, is possibly one of the best miniseries or film experiences I've ever had in my life. Currently, you can only get From the Earth to the Moon via DVD, which is a huge disappointment. It's a 12-part miniseries covering the late 50s to early 70s of the human space race. This series helped spark a whole new generation of people who are interested in space exploration, including myself.
Capcom, we are go for power descent.
The show is largely based on Andrew Chaikin's book, A Man on the Moon, and the series is known for its really accurate telling of the story of Apollo. They went to great lengths to help retelling the story as accurately as possible. They brought out the original Apollo simulators from the command module and lunar module to recreate the scenes inside of the simulators. They also commissioned the restoration of Lunar Module 13, which was the lunar module that was supposed to go up on Apollo 18, but after Apollo 18 was canceled, it was tucked away into a museum like many other Apollo artifacts, and then the series got commissioned in the early 90s. The lunar module was brought out of the museum, was torn down to the bare bones and restored so it could accurately retell the moon landings for the show. Apollo 15 astronaut Dave Scott was also brought in as a technical consultant to make sure the storytelling from start to finish was not only historically accurate, but technically accurate. He ensured that the correct switches were being flipped during the scenes and the right language is being used between the different astronauts to really tighten up the historical accuracy. The show is also the start of many A-list actors that we see today. People like Bryan Cranston, Nick Searcy, David Andrews, Stephen Root, Brett Cullen, Tony Goldwyn, Al Franken. The list I just spit out was just really the tip of the iceberg. As you watch the series, there are so many recognizable faces from over the years that it's incredible that they all got them in this one mini-series. A lot of credit needs to go to Tom Hanks because he ensured that every episode was told with the utmost historical accuracy. One of the main arguments for the show is that there's been so many space films and TV shows made that have tapped into the fantastical, but nobody really dialed into the historic accuracy, other than the film The Right Stuff and Apollo 13. Speaking of The Right Stuff and Apollo 13, Tom Hanks and crew did not want to retell those parts of the stories because they believed those films did a great job retelling the story and there was no real point in rehashing those films. For instance, from the Apollo 13 episode, they told the entire experience from the ground and not from space. So it was largely the stress on the family, the stress of NASA, and the press trying to cover the incident. Another fun behind the scenes moment is when they're trying to film on the moon, they put these guys in these heavy spacesuits. But how do you recreate 1/6 gravity? Balloons. They tied weather balloons to the back of these guys so that they can bounce around exactly how they would on the moon, which on film came off flawlessly. So now you know the show has great historical accuracy, A-list actors, top-notch production value. So why do we need it on streaming services, HD or 4K? Well, because we want a whole new generation to get engrossed in this story. Now, I know the show was originally shot in 4:3 aspect ratio, but it was filmed on 35mm film, which is easily scalable to 4K resolution. This wouldn't also be a new thing for HBO, as they also digitally remastered The Wire a couple of years ago. That show was also shot on 35mm, also shot for a 4:3 aspect ratio. I've been doing some research online, and folks that worked on From the Earth to the Moon say that the show was finished in such a way that it can be remastered easily in HD. Likely it was reprinted on the 35mm and stored away into archive. This wouldn't be the first time that the Earth to the Moon was remastered. In the mid-2000s, they came out with a 16:9 version by basically chopping off the tops and bottoms of the framing, which is also something that happened in The Wire when they remastered it in HD. Many purists don't really like that. They want the film to be shown in the original 4:3 aspect ratio, which I can totally understand, because that is how the directors and the producers, when they're making the film, were thinking about the framing and the storytelling. So I do also think that we should keep the original 4:3 aspect ratio. Another counter argument on HBO's production point is that the motion graphics in the film are mid-90s. When you upscale them to HD or 4K, they're not going to look that great. Now, lucky for us, most of the film was shot with practical effects, and really the only time you see motion graphics is from the outside of the spacecraft while they're in space. They did do a great job extensively filming with a lot of practical effects, so there wouldn't be a ton of overhaul in those areas. I personally don't really care. I actually like the older graphics. They did a really great job. But knowing HBO and their high production standards, they'd want to remaster that. I work in television and I understand the type of costs that coincide with remastering a film such as this. It could be millions of dollars if you want to redo things like the graphics. But it could also just be simply as rescanning the 35mm film as is and uploading it to HBO Go for all of us to enjoy. But I can assure you, HBO, that this would be something that thousands, if not millions of people will enjoy for years to come. So if you know anybody at HBO, please share with them this video and let them know how important this series was to you. I know that there's a whole new generation of viewers that can learn something and would be a great social impact for HBO to get it on streaming services again. Thanks a lot for watching. Please subscribe and I'll see you guys later.